What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another J-drama score. We're going to listen to another tune from the Guilty Woman Under Contract with the Devil, which is how the subtitle translates to English. This is a 2010 show. I described it, I think, at length in the previous reaction, which was to one of my favorite tunes ever. It's the opening tune on the soundtrack. Nevertheless, we are going to listen to one that is translated here into English, which is interesting because in the score or soundtrack track list, some tracks are written in katakana, which is the Japanese syllabary used when you're writing foreign words in Japanese. Some are in kanji, and then others are in English. And I think maybe even one is in hiragana here. So yeah, because there's like cursive ones. So there's like multiple different syllabaries and indeed languages that are used in the soundtrack track list. Nevertheless, it's a dark show. It's about a woman who was wrongly imprisoned for killing her brother that she actually didn't do. And I think she's in prison for 12 years. When she gets out of prison, she sets about a plot of revenge to get back at all the people who lied or were bribed to make her original conviction happen. Into this steps one of my favorite actors, Tamaki Hiroshi, seen here in the middle of the split faces. He plays a sort of jaded detective who's quite good, but he's drinking too much and he's not really taking things as seriously as he should. And ultimately, his superiors aren't the greatest. Like the brass at his division or department within the Japanese police, they're hard on him, and they'd like to see him fired, even though he's quite good. So there's a lot of dark and unpleasant kind of relations going on, and as he begins to investigate these murders, he begins to see that there's something going on, and maybe related to this woman's conviction a number of years ago when she was a teenager. But when he finds her, she's working at like a pet, it's like a pet groomer like place, and so and she seems to be very friendly and nice and so on, and he's actually a bit drawn to her, and she seems to quite like him. But the more he looks into it, there do seem to be some weird coincidences, and maybe she's the one knocking people off, which eventually, or as us as the audience, we know she's doing that from the very beginning. So they're sort of like star-crossed lovers in that, eventually they really have strong feelings for each other, but he kind of knows what she's doing, and she doesn't want to let him see any more of what a bad person she's become. He makes her wish that she wasn't doing this revenge thing, but it's too late. She's already started it. So there's a lot going on in the show. And in some ways, it's very J-drama, which, I don't know, you have to watch a lot of J-drama to get a sense of like the specific characteristics that are maybe in Japanese shows that aren't in some other shows, but it does have a bit of a Japanese flavor in terms of the way some of the characters are presented and some of the cultural things. So yeah, it's a really cool show. There's a lot of hip-hop in the soundtrack. We'll get to that eventually, and again, I'm not sure if it lists here who's behind those specific tracks, but I don't think it's just the composer. And to make sure I'm getting this right, is it Sumitomo? Yeah, Sumitomo Norihito is the composer, and the piece we're going to listen to is, I think it's piano. It's very much a, if not orchestral, sort of chamber music kind of piece with classical instruments. But as I said, a lot of the soundtrack is actually hip-hop. So once I get to that part of the soundtrack, I'll try to dig a little deeper and see if I can find out who performed the hip-hop sections or pieces within the score. So in any case, we're going to listen to the tune Longing. I think this is played when the two main leads, the woman, the actress is eluding me at the moment. Let me see if I can look that up. I apologize, but with these J-dramas, there's like a lot of information, and since a lot of it isn't in English, I have to have stuff open on the internet. Where is the Nogami Meiko, who's the main character? Yeah, it's Kano Miho is the actress. And then, yeah, as I said, Tamaki Hiroshi is the main detective of the show, who, again, they eventually have this emotional connection, and the stronger that gets, the more complicated it gets, because he's technically investigating her and she knows that, and she also knows what she's doing and doesn't feel apologetic for it, but also doesn't want to get him drawn into it and get him in trouble, by maybe protecting her from other investigators. So it's a complicated story, but I think this piece plays when they're together, especially once it gets to the point where they want to have a relationship together, but it's not really practical given everything else that's going on. So here we go. This is Sumitomo Norihito from the Guilty Woman Under Contract from the Devil soundtrack, and the tune is called Longing. Hits on the keys. I thought that came in earlier, and I almost wondered if I was misremembering the tune, but in this one, it fits with the hip-hop heavy score. It's got that syncopated rhythm. great tune. Again, I thought the orchestral part of it, the strings, came in a little earlier. So then there was a moment there. I was like, wait, is that another part of the score? Because again, a lot of these soundtracks, they'll have two or three, maybe even four tracks that they share a melodic theme, but it'll articulate differently in the different parts of the soundtrack. And so I wondered for a moment, wait, is the one that I'm thinking of a different part of this soundtrack and this is just the opening version of it? But no, eventually it did come in a more full capacity with, again, a sort of syncopated hip-hop style beat, although there wasn't a huge snare to, really give it that feel, but it had that same kind of side-to-side shuffle rhythm. And yeah, as I said, the strings are very nice, and it just fits exactly the type of concept that the name suggests. So I think it's very well composed. Shout out to Sumitomo Norihito. And yeah, we'll come back for more of this. Once again, there's some hip hop tracks on here, which are cool. Again, I don't remember exactly if the lyrics are specific to the narrative of the show, if they're more conceptual and therefore, can be interpreted in relation to the show. So basically, I don't remember if the tracks are, again, they were composed specifically for this, or if it's a track that, a hip-hop artist in Japan had made and then was used in the soundtrack. So, not sure there, but once we get to one of those, I'll try to dig a little deeper online and see what we can find. But yeah, do let me know what you think of this one. I will see you next time. Peace.